So we're back, second time vlogging, and we're going through the process of the alphabet. And if for no other reason, it's simply to get me comfortable sitting here in front of the camera with you. So yes, I've changed the location where I'm doing these because I'm more comfortable at my desk. And so I've set everything up here, and we'll see if this is where I stay. No promises, no rules. Don't want any rules. I may even find myself outside. We'll see how it goes. In any case, today is B. So I have a couple of B words. Well, there's a lot of B words. But the two that I'm going to explore today is believing in yourself and boundaries. So the first one, believing in yourself, I want to tell you a little story about back when I first left my full-time job. It was a big deal. I had a regular paycheck every 2 weeks, like clockwork. Money went in the bank. And I wanted something different. I didn't want that structure, that having to report to someone else. I wanted to be able to do my own thing. And so Tom and I talked about it quite a bit. And at the time, I had worked really hard to start building the business of Hilltop Signs and Graphics. And at the time, it was Hilltop Graphics and Gifts. That's a whole other story of how the name was changed and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, when we first started, it was Hilltop Graphics and Gifts because I liked being able to make the gift side of things. It only became the sign side of things years later. So in any case, I'd been doing this for ever since Emily was born. We started with a Carlson Craft wedding invitation album, and it was initially beer and pizza money. Then it grew and it grew and it grew. And it grew to the point where I really had to make the decision of, do I want to do this or do I want to keep the regular guaranteed job? Well, we all know what ended up happening. I chose that I wanted to go out on my own and work from home. And that first day after quitting my full-time job and knowing that I was on my own was so scary. And I was so sick to my stomach thinking, what in the world have I done? And so I came home, and Tom, as always, was always so very, very supportive. And I just told him, I said, I need to lay down. I think I'm going to be sick. And there on the pillow was a card from him about believing in yourself. In fact, I think, I do. I have it right here. And this is just really important. And of course, it's not only is it important to believe in yourself, but it's important for other people to believe in you too, because it really does give you that strength and that feeling of being loved and trusted and the courage to carry on. So basically, this card, it says, I believe. I believe in mind over matter. I believe in the human spirit to prevail. I believe in miracles and blessings, both great and small. I believe in possibilities. I believe that hurdles in life are meant to be jumped over, not as something to stop us. Then you open it, and it simply says, I believe in you. And he simply wrote in his own handwriting, we will make this happen. Enjoy the ride. Love, me. And so this was in 2003. Yeah, 2003 is when in June of 2003 is when I had in my rearview mirror was Pax River Naval Air Station. And so I've hung on to this card. In fact, it has its own special little pedestal here that sits on my desk. And it's very special, and it reminds me of the support that I've had pretty much in all of the things that I've wanted to do, not only before this time, but for the past over 20 years. And I think that in believing in yourself and having someone else believe in you too, it boils down to having the confidence in succeeding and knowing that you can do it. And what's important to remember is that it's not the amount of times that you fall, it's the amount of times that you get back up. And I am not here to tell you that every one of those steps were the easiest, because they weren't. In fact, some of them were downright hard. Some of them were earth shattering. Some of them were, that's it, I've had enough, I quit. And at the same time, I kept getting back up. Did I have a hand to help me at times? Of course I did. And what's important too is that to know that when someone is offering you a hand, that it's a hand up, not a hand out. And there certainly is a difference. So I wanted to share that with you today. And then the other thing that I wanted to share was boundaries. Boundaries are a really big, hot topic right now. And I don't know if it's just the buzzword boundaries, kind of like all of a sudden no one had enough vitamin D and everyone was rushing to the stores to get vitamin D or booking that Caribbean vacation. Okay, maybe I took that to the extreme. Maybe it was just the bottle of vitamin D. But nonetheless, the word boundaries seems to be a really big buzzword nowadays. So what does that mean for you to have boundaries? And how do you establish them? It can really be a tough topic, especially if you are the type of person that has always said yes. So last January, instead of doing a New Year's resolution, I made a goals list. And that goals list was to stop saying yes. And I needed to eliminate a lot of the things that were on my schedule. I was not going to take on anything new for the next 6 months. Do you realize how hard that is when you're someone that always says yes and you always want to help people with whatever it is that you can help them with, especially if it's something that you know how to do and you can just do it because you know how to do it and it's easy. And why not if you can? Well, what ends up happening is you end up having way too many things on your plate. And when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to other things. So, what are those things that you're saying yes to versus what you're saying no to? And that's probably one of the biggest questions that you really need to ask yourself. So, last year, I began by not being the president of an organization, not being a co chair of another organization, by not leading a group at the local high school. I should have made the list and I didn't. There were several things. Volunteer organizations. I resigned from a volunteer organization because I was not doing it 100% to my capacity that I wanted to be able to contribute. So therefore, I said, I'm cleaning my slate, and this is important. Probably one of the important things to note also along the lines here is that my own family and my photography business were suffering because I was saying yes to all of these volunteer organizations and commitments, etc. And I wasn't saying yes to the things that mattered the most to me. And that was my family and my income. If I didn't have any income, how am I going to be able to volunteer for these other organizations and be able to financially afford to do that. So again, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. So I think I listed like 4 things. All in total, by the time it was said and done, I eliminated over 8 major commitments, whether it was board of directors, volunteer organizations, being a president of an organization, etc. I eliminated all of those things. Now, I had originally said, okay, for the first 6 months, I'm not taking on anything new, and anything that I can eliminate or take off of my plate, I'm going to make a concentrated effort to do that. So I did. And after the first 6 months, I got to the end of June, and it was like, boy, this was hard, but it was really nice, and I'm actually starting to get more things done around my own home and within my own business that I haven't done in years. And I said, I'm not quite ready to take this this ruling that I put on myself off just yet. So I'll do it another 30 days. Well, the end of July came, and it was like, whew, that month went by really fast. And I said, okay, I'll give it another 30 days. Well, before I knew it, I was at the end of the year. And I still had at least 2 organizations, 2 board of director organizations, one of which I had been a member of for over 14 years, that I still had not addressed. And I made up my mind, okay, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it. So prior to 9 p.m. New Year's Eve, I resigned from both of those board of director positions. Some were feelings of great sadness, but I also realized that it was something of great importance for me that I needed to have done. I had to set those boundaries. Since that time, here I am, almost 18 months later, and I still am not taking on anything new unless it relates to my business or it relates to my family. Am I present? Yes. Do I have boundaries? Yes. Do I give myself rules? Rules is such a hard term, but do I give myself the permission? I give myself the permission to do things for myself and for the benefit of my family and my business, and it's okay. And I'm okay with it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is the guilt that I used to feel that it was so necessary that I had to do. And I did not feel that I had to continue to do that. So personal space and time, I think that is really important to know what is important to you, what you're willing to do and give up. Work-life balance, everyone's always talking about that. I was just talking to a friend of mine today, and she explained it in such a great way. And she said there is no work-life balance. It's finding the flow within. And I won't take that any further because I feel like I don't want to take her words and use them as my own. So you take that and you interpret that for what it means for you. Emotional boundaries. What do you do and don't like, and what will you allow in your life? And it doesn't mean that you're giving other people rules. It's what your guidelines are for it's your guidelines for how you wish to live your life and what you want to be surrounded with. In the past, I've talked about, on the podcast that is, I've talked about going into a room and feeling welcome or not feeling welcome. And it's up to you. You're the one that walked in that room. You have the free will to walk back out of that room. So it's up to you. And that ties a lot into JOMO, if you've ever heard that terminology, which is the joy of missing out versus fear of missing out. Sometimes it's nice to just stay home and not have to get into the drama, the social drama of being a part of. Your time boundaries. How you use and spend your time and what matters the most to you is up to you, and how you share that with other people. If you're answering your emails at 11 o'clock at night and people read and see that you were available at 11 o'clock at night, then if they call you, they may expect you to answer the phone. So set those boundaries. Set those boundaries. Don't necessarily answer the phone after a certain time. If you're closed, you're closed. If you're not available, you're not available. And the biggest part of that is accepting it and setting those guidelines for other people. So I hope this has been helpful for you, the B word. And so until next time, I'm Carol Davis, and I'm working through this whole vlogging, video blogging. I'm becoming comfortable in front of the camera instead of being behind the camera all the time, and we'll see where it goes.